We are going to have a panel this late morning about doing business in Europe, what to look at, what to look for, what not to do, what yes to do. And we are, as everyone knows, in a rather interesting and dynamic world, becoming more and more divisive, more and more difficult, and doing business to some extent becomes more specific. So first I'd like to introduce our distinguished panel from left to right. Each of them will introduce themselves shortly, and then we can dive into discussions and hopefully leave some time for questions at the end. So Stefan, maybe you want to start?
All right, thanks, Yogadi. So my name is Stefan Lutz. I'm responsible for the technology office of BMW here in Israel. I live here for more than 2 years now in Tel Aviv. And our main target here is scouting new startups with new innovations, which could be interesting for BMW kind of car or IT or production. So this is what we do mainly here.
Ben.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ben. I run a single family office out of Vienna. I'm invested in over 20 different tech companies. Not all of them are startups. I host the world's largest event for software developers in Berlin, which is happening this July. So we have 15,000 software developers coming together in the Berlin Fair. If any one of you are interested, happy to connect you. And yeah, look forward to our discussion.
Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I'm representing Germany's largest research organization here in Israel. We have 18 research centers across Germany. And I also have a side role, which is representing our Association of Medium-Sized Companies in Israel.
And lastly, my name is Gadi. I'm one of the partners in the venture arm of the Bosch Group. I manage and I established the office in Israel about 15 years ago. And Bosch, as you know, is a very large multinational company that does quite a lot of things, but predominantly it's the world's largest automotive tier one. And our venture activity ranges across a rather broad variety of areas and topics. We do mostly A and B round investments, and happy to talk to people later. But guys, we have here different organizations and different countries, so maybe we can start by discussing some differences between what you view from your Austrian standpoint versus our German colleagues. If you want to start, Ben.
What's the question exactly?
What is unique from your standpoint to doing business in Austria, maybe versus other places in Europe? I'm not even going to talk about places like France, which is a completely different planet, but let's stay here.
Okay. So Austria is a very small country. We have a population of about 9 million. There's a lot of nepotism, so we rank very highly on the Transparency International scale. Which also means that if you want to do sales or if you want to acquire investors in Austria, it's probably better to have someone Austrian doing this, because Austrians like to do business with people they have some kind of affiliation, some closeness, some connection to. I've tried to help Israeli startups acquire investors in Austria. It's super, super difficult because also Austrian VCs, Austrian business angels, Austrian family offices prefer to invest in companies and do business with companies closer to their region. Also because the fact that they have more control if you're within their geographic vicinity. So if you want to do sales in Austria, you have to take a very local approach, find someone who's on the ground and who will do business from you from an Austrian perspective towards Austrian companies.
Stefan, do you see similar characteristics in Germany or not as much?
No, I think it's a bit different. In Germany there's 83 million people, so the size is already quite different, and we have quite a few large corporations internationally placed. I mean, you see Gadi here from Bosch, I'm from BMW. So we are looking already very international to make connections. The thing is that it's not always the same approach between a large corporation which already does international business to a family-owned business in Germany which is very local and therefore comparable, right, to what just Ben said, right, you need to have a different approach. Therefore, it's kind of the same for the family-owned, but the possibilities are with the large corporation and the many companies looking into business doing outside of Germany already quite international. Yes, it does help if you have someone aboard who speaks German, but from our perspective here from BMW, it's definitely not necessary.
Well, if I may add, I
Yes,
think
please.
Austrians and Germans are quite similar, and I think I sometimes tend to think that Austrians are more German than the Germans. But I think when it comes to
Cultural clashes.
no, I just think when it comes to business, what you just laid out, I think it's quite the same for German companies. And of course, you're right, Stefan, because you're from a big corporation, and it's different to smaller companies. But in general, what you said, to be prepared and to all this culture, the difference, that's I think the same in Austria, and pretty much the same in Austria and Germany, and also Switzerland.
Like if you compare Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, the Swiss, they're always on time, right? The SBB, the Swiss train, will always be spot on in the second it's supposed to be there. You can eat off the floor of the main train station in Zurich. Everything's working, everything's organized. Business is done in with structure and everything. The Germans are kind of in between the Austrians and the Swiss, so they're more organized. Meetings have an agenda. People know what to do. There's deadlines and stuff like that. But then they do like their workations, their sabbaticals, their flexible, remote, whatever it is, 20 hours for 40 hours pay thing. So things won't be quite as structured as in Switzerland. Then you have the Austrians, who are a little bit more on the Italian side, because they like to do their meetings, but then there's no agenda, there's no results, there's no goal, there's no deadlines. Everybody just leaves the meeting and nobody knows what's going on. Everything is based on relationships. We're comfortable, we kind of like to take it easy, and that's just something you need to really keep in mind when you're doing business in these countries. I also disagree with what you're saying, because we've found that when we invest in Austrian founders, they have a lot of trouble doing sales in Germany because they don't speak the Hochdeutsch that's expected. So the more Austrian you are, also from a linguistic standpoint, the more difficult it is to do sales in Germany. I'm from Munich, by the way, but I live in Vienna since 16 years, so I've seen both sides. So
your German is very Hochdeutsch.
The Germans say I'm Austrian and vice versa, but yes, it's very Hochdeutsch. But this is just stuff to keep in mind.
Yeah, I do remember I was working a year and a half in Graz on a project with Steyr. So the German words were not exactly sometimes the same like Austrians used. So no, go ahead, right? Go ahead with English. Meet us, speak in English, right? If you have someone who speaks German, go ahead and speak German, right? In a large corporation with us, we have learned that the approach for a startup to a large corporation is not easy. If you send an email to our CEO, you'll never get a reply, right? So we have a vehicle which is called BMW Startup Garage, which is completely created for this idea that startups can approach a large corporation. So the approach, if this exists in a corporation, is much easier for you than if you try to find the owner of a family-owned business who might not have the time to talk to you immediately. There are very innovative companies on mid and small scale in Germany as well as in Austria and in Switzerland. And the people are very, very interested, definitely also in innovation, but you need to find the right person. In a large corporation with us, for example, you have a vehicle, you have the possibility to send an email to this address and you'll get a response. It will not be lost. Maybe not like this morning in a few minutes, like you would expect here in Israel to get a reply, but it will not be forgotten. So we learned from this approach from startups to large corporation, you need to have something intermediate which allows an easy access. That's the person you need to find into the company. And go ahead with English.
But I do think for the medium-sized companies, it applies as well to some extent, because if you do have a contact and if you do the homework beforehand, preparedness, that you know who to approach in a company, you do have a great chance that you get an email back. It's not that you approach a medium-sized company and then there's no feedback. So, but it's important to do the homework and also don't expect fast results, because this is not happening in Germany. Because
Andrea, on the point of homework, while we're at the topic, what other tips or advice can you give in terms of preparing for interaction with companies from the DACH region?
Yeah, I mean, talking about homework, it's, people, Israelis just approach you, and that sometimes they don't really read what your company does, or is it, is it like a match for my startup? So this is what you should do, because otherwise chances are quite low that there's a response. And then this is why, it would be good to just learn about the competitors, learn about the company you want to get in touch with, and then find out if there is a certain contact person you can approach, which is nowadays very easy via LinkedIn. And you can always find someone and ask someone, or here at the Chamber of Commerce, or even at our association. It's like you can't find people, and Israelis are really good at networking. So it's
networking is an important point. You have to build a network in the region. So I think what applies to all three countries, Austria, Switzerland, Germany, is it's very important who you know, who you can refer to, and who can open doors for you. So what doesn't work is to just like spray and pray, just shoot emails out to random people, tell them what you're doing, and then expect to do business with them. It's important to get in touch with some super nodes, get in touch with some people who have a network, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce or any other person who's established in the region who you can then refer to when you get in touch with people. So I think that's one of the most important learnings you can take away when it comes to cold acquisition of new customers or new investors. Always refer to someone, ask them to refer you, and kind of open the door this way.
Yeah, I agree. The thing is with companies like us, and I'm not talking only about BMW in this case, also Volkswagen, they have an office here, Mercedes, Porsche, Bosch, right? So a lot in the automotive industry, and others already come or have offices here in Israel. So it's much easier then. You don't need to go immediately to Germany, right? You can make the first contact here. That's why we're here. And we can see this, that we can be this intermediate, this person to match between Israeli culture and German culture, and just smooth it out a little bit, because we are here, we know that there are differences. So if someone approaches me like, Stefan, I have a great idea for public buses. So I'm not going like, oh, you idiot, BMW is not doing buses. Did you learn something about, did you check out what is the company? No. Never happens like this. It's more like, hey guys, sorry, we're not doing buses. Do you something for cars? Right? So that's the point where there's possibility if you already in the market and have the someone who knows both sides. Right.
You can definitely treat us as culture converters. Especially the ones who are actually German, not like me who is a fake German. But many years in German culture actually helps you know how to translate. On the topic of communicating with the German companies, if any of you or all of you can give one do and one don't from your experience, what works and what completely does not work when companies here want to interact with the German or Austrian or Swiss partner?
Okay, what I think always experience is, because Israelis really want to sell a product, and then again, as I said, Germans are quite hesitant, and then they get a bit overwhelmed. So, and then the Israeli, they have the meeting, and Israelis tend to just bombard them with emails because they don't hear back from the Germans, which is also downside from the German part. But I think then it's good to be a little patient and just not send too many emails, let's say 5 emails in 1 week, and if you don't hear back, and just give it a little time, because most of the time there's going to be a feedback, but Germans are quite put off when they get too much, if they are full on with their emails. So that would be an advice.
Attend conferences. So since in the last years the economic environment has changed, outbound sales, outbound outreaches to customers, to CEOs, to investors has just skyrocketed. So personally, I don't read my LinkedIn messages because I don't have the time to do so. So what I would really recommend, go to trade fairs, go to events, go to conferences, meet the people on site, do your research. Don't just, throw your pitch at them, but try to find out what they're doing, and take it on a more personal level. Don't write very long emails, keep it short, keep it simple. Try to get meetings, try to get phone calls rather than just throwing all the information that you have at the people. It's a relation-based type thing, and you need to meet people in person if you want to do business, and you need to go top-down. If you don't go top-down, if you don't go through the C-level or SVP level, you're unlikely to do business, at least with large companies. If we're talking about medium-sized or family-owned businesses, go directly to the owners or to the CEO and take it from there. Going through the operational level usually does not work.
Yeah, for us, I would say, do not tell us what our customer needs, because we know this, and we are convinced that we know it better than any other, and we know it better than any other competitor even. So don't tell us what we need for our customer. The do is definitely, I underline here what said Ben, is if you need contact, go to Germany, go to conferences or fairs. It's the most easy way because it's centric on the topic you're looking, right? A mobility fair, a food fair, textile fair, and so on. So you have everything, much easier contact there if you don't have a network already. And the other thing is what I also see with the different organizations possible, like the Israeli trade organization. They have offices in Germany, like Munich. We work together with them. They organize trips for startups to come to Germany. That's also another possibility to get direct contacts, and they organize pitched events and so on.
Thank you. We have exactly 3 minutes for questions and comments, so this is your time to ask, or there's a mic there. Just raise your hands. Okay, in that case, we have two more minutes and 45 seconds. What is your view with the current, at least the sentiment in your respective organizations with the situation in Israel, which is at the moment not exactly stable or non-challenging? How do you recommend companies go about dealing with this aspect?
Well, first of all, I think it's really amazing what Gilly pulled together here. I mean, it also pretty much answers the question a little bit, I do think when it comes to yeah, exactly. I think when it comes to, and I can speak both for the business side, but also for the scientific side, like scientists who come where we connect Germans and Israelis. I think, they are not, they follow the news, they know what's happening, but it doesn't affect the business or, that there's hesitation of not wanting to work with Israel anymore. I think it's more a question of the travel warning, which is, if it is in place, then, they might not be allowed to travel unless it's a president or, so this is what affects our work a little bit. So we really hope that it's now going to get a little bit more stable. It doesn't look like it today, but we're always hopeful and positive. So.
If you're looking to raise capital from investors in Europe, then it might make sense to emphasize in your communications that you're not affected by the conflict with Gaza. So a lot of investors are worried about what's going on. Most of them have never been here. They don't know if your sea levels are, in the war, if they're out in the field or not. So it might make sense to or I would recommend emphasizing this just to give them the assurance that this is not a topic that's detrimenting your company.
Yeah, also when I'm back in Munich in headquarters, I'm getting asked about the situation. I always say that last year, for example, we had no project stopped, no project was postponed. And we never had so much projects in last year than we had before. And that was during the war, right? So it's for people amazing. They do not see that, right? They read the news, and the news, it's just like when something really happens, the days in between and the daily life we have here, they don't see this from the outside, right? So it's always, I'm always there as an ambassador, say, hey, no, business is ongoing, our office is open, right? And I do see the point that questions are like, is the production safe, right? Do you continue to produce or able to produce even in war times? So these kind of questions arise, and you need to be prepared to answer these kind of questions.
All right, we're exactly out of time. Thank you very much, Andrea, Ben, and Stefan.